I look at producing as like going fishing, where it's like sometimes you catch it and sometimes you don't. You can look at the currents and you can see when the fish are active, but like it's kind of the cornerstone of like science and magic, where you don't really know if what you're going to make that day is going to be great or not.
What's up, everybody? My name is Parker Ament.
My name's Danny Ferrari.
And we are Excellent Sound. Today, we have another amazing episode of The Excellent Show with producer, finger banger.
The finger banger
the
himself.
Phenomenal finger drummer, OddKidOut.
Let's go,
Yo.
OddKidOut.
Thanks for having me.
Amazing. Dude, we got started so quick. We were so excited to have you here, man. You're from Philly, you said.
Yeah, born
bro.
and raised, man. 215, go Birds.
That's awesome, man. And then when did you come to L.A.?
So 2016, I got an internship with Red Light Management.
Okay.
For part of my my Drexel co-op program when I was in college, and so I'm out here working, and an employee at the company followed me on Instagram, and she was like, "Hey, Skrillex follows you, right?" And I was
That's crazy.
I was like, "Wait, what?" I was like, Instagram, huh? So I go on there and I DM him. I go back to Philly for a little bit, and we keep this relationship, Sonny and I. And so I actually flew back to LA near the end of 2017 for a show with Native Instruments, literally the day before my first day of school as a senior at college.
Was the school in California or back in Philly?
No, it was back in Philly.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
So you flew out for a show.
Yeah.
Just there for a show. Okay, got it.
Yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
Flew out for a show for a new product with NI, and I was showcasing it. And so I text Sonny, and I'm like, "Hey, I'm here for one more night. I met him one other time in New York, but I was like, it would be really cool to hang out and actually like make some music and chill." So he's like, "Here's the address, pull up." So I'm like, "Okay, I got a 6 a.m. flight. Let's just do this. Just gonna stay up all night."
Yeah.
So I get there, and it turned into him basically being like, "Stay." And I moved in with Sonny in 2017, and that's what led to like my Ausla project and everything. So.
That's hilarious. So wait, how did you not know that he was following you on Instagram?
Yeah, how did that happen?
That's pretty insane.
Yeah, sorry, there's so many questions that are going through I need to ask you about this.
I don't know how it slipped through the cracks. I mean, well, okay, maybe I do. So beginning of 2016, before I went out to LA the first time for the co-op stuff, I had been featured by, so Instagram had a channel, I don't know if they still have it, it was called Music. At the time, it maybe had like 500,000 followers.
Oh, wow.
And it reposted one of my videos of me finger drumming, because I had just been in this like a literal trap house in West Philly, just recording myself finger drumming, like just
Sick.
Shitty audio, shitty everything. And I got featured, and I built a relationship with him, and eventually they were like, "We're going to post this on Instagram's main page," which at the time had, I don't even know how many million followers, but it was a lot.
Wow.
And overnight I got like 30 to 40,000 followers.
Man.
And I'm maybe thinking that it was
Yeah.
in that time period that he maybe followed me, and I just didn't see it because it was just so much. But I'll tell you what, I really paid attention to my social media after that.
Instagram doesn't really have a way of like notifying you when, like, it notifies you when people follow you, but like, was it Caro or something? We started learning with our like Shopify account, like you can see specific like people in your network, like, and how many followers they have, or you can sometimes filter it by like followers or verified accounts. Instagram doesn't really have anything like that now, do they?
Yeah,
they definitely didn't back in the day. So that makes sense why you would have missed it if you would have had a big influx like that. But they need something like that, so you can kind of pay attention. You know,
they do it where if it thinks it's important, then they tell you about it, which is weird.
That's what they do now.
Or if it's like a blue check mark, yeah, right now.
They
like
need a
priority.
filter.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe they do have a filter by followers, but it's like, yeah, I guess how often are you gonna like really just check that? Like at that point, you're just like, oh, sick, I got all these followers. You're probably just taking it all in. You're not thinking like, oh, I wonder if Skrillex is following me now.
No,
it's like no way. Yeah.
You're not thinking that at all.
Dude.
So yeah, it was crazy.
So wait, go back. So
Yeah.
you're here for a night, and you go and
Session.
hang out with.
You shoot your
Skrill.
shot. You're like, hey, let's link up and make music. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and that so what happens?
Okay,
So
so
it was one night.
So I'm staying at Mama Shelter, and so I get an Uber to
That's down the street.
yeah, no. Yeah, it's crazy. So I take an Uber down to the Arts District to the address that he sent me. And this dude named Gabe opens the door who worked with Alsa as well. And he was living in that space at the time. So now I'm just like smoking weed with this dude I just met. It's just me and him in the studio.
Nice.
It's like a big creative warehouse, two stories, bedroom, everything, and then a studio in the back. So we're in the back working. And a couple hours go by, and then the front door opens. We go out, and it's like a few of the Ausla creative members and Sonny. And instead of making music, they all have bikes. And the bikes are outfitted like Burning Man. Like there's lights and there's all these crazy things. And they're like, yo, there's a crazy bike event going on downtown where people bike like all through the city, and they all have lights, and people fucking have like medieval jousting in parking lots, and there's punk bands. Like it's just like it's like I don't even know what to expect. I'm like, cool, give me the bike, let's go. So we're biking around, and halfway through that event is when Sonny pulls up next to me, and he's like, yo, like what's your plan, dude? And I'm like, I got school tomorrow. And he's like, yeah, I don't think you should go back, you should just stay here. And dude, I didn't know what to say except for like, sure. So I had a backpack worth of clothing, so I was only supposed to be in LA for like a day or two. So I called my mom that night and was like, hey, I'm skipping this flight and I'm staying here. And that's how the journey began.
And she was like, yeah, like do it. She wasn't like, no, like what about school? Like she wasn't like any of that, or
yeah, but I've done music my whole life, so I think everyone was pretty locked in on like, okay, this is what he's gonna do. Right. And I told my mom, I was like, I'll go to school. I know I don't really need it to be an artist, but I'll go until I don't have a reason to. And so when I spoke to her, I was like, here's the reason not to.
Yeah, I mean that's also crazy too. Is like, I know like as like people go through, it's probably some people can relate. It's like you start going through your musical career, like opportunities come up and like big opportunities happen, and a lot of them like will just like fizzle out. Not because of like bad, like you did anything wrong or or you're not good enough. It just kind of happens, right? So like even though you had this like opportunity with Skrillex, which is a huge opportunity, like very, very possible that could just like fizzle out and you're just there for a couple weeks, and then the guy gets busy or whatever, he has to go on tour, and then that's it, and then you have to go back home. So I mean that take a lot of just like obviously that I'm sure everybody would have said yes at that point, being in your position, but still like. That's not like a fucking like, oh, you're good now. You know what I mean? That's like that's pretty ballsy. You know what I'm saying? To take that risk.
It's quite scary.
Yeah.
Yeah. I spoke to a few like friends and mentors about it. So there's a professor at Drexel. He's not there anymore. His name is Ryan Schwab. He's a plugin maker.
Oh, nice. Gold clip.
Yeah, the homie.
Yeah, that's sick.
Now, that's the FL.
Yeah, there's like orange clip and gold clip.
Can we get that, bro?
Yeah, and
hit up your boy, bro. I'm trying to get that.
Yeah, I'll hit him up. I'll text him.
Yeah, it's supposed to mimic the FL clipping like of the master.
Yeah.
So you hit him up. He was your mentor.
So yeah, he was a professor at the program I was in. He's the one that actually got me to switch from Logic to Ableton.
Okay, converted.
Sick.
And he was one of those dudes that was like, just be cautious,
right?
Because I look at my life as pre-Ausla and post-Ausla. There was that big of a nuclear event in my life that, it is very scary and it's amazing. But you're right. It definitely takes a lot of thinking in that moment. But there's also no thinking. It's just like do it.
Yes.
But then you go to bed that night and you're like, your head has a million thoughts going through it. And I just remember being on the second story. Sleeping in this random bed and looking out of the little peep window that was there to a neon lit Ausla sign that was pulsating, and it's been etched into my mind because I remember just looking through that window and thinking, where does life go now?
Right. That was a big crossroad right there.
So where did it go? I mean, you released
what
an
happens
EP
the next day?
with Ausla, right?
When you're supposed to be at school.
So the next day, I remember Sonny coming back to the house, and at that point, I had my computer and my Maschine set up in the living room, and I was just finger drumming because I didn't know what else to do.
Right.
And he came in, and that was the first time that he posted me on his Instagram. He put up a story of me.
Oh, nice.
And I was like, okay, cool. Like, clearly you believe in what I'm doing, and I appreciate that. And after that, it really turned into, I was, in a good way, I was really on my own for most of it. So I spent a lot of time in the studio just watching him, looking at the project files, watching his flow, every now and then making some music together.
Right.
and then the random 8 a.m. hang out on the couch and talk about life. And
Wow.
Oh, that's early.
yes, very early,
Yeah.
or late if you're not
Yeah,
in bed yet, right?
exactly.
So a couple days in, I got tasked with flipping. I've never really told this story this outwardly before, which
Really?
is cool. Yeah, I always talk
I
about the
love
story,
it,
but not
dude.
like this
Nice.
in detail.
Excellent
So
Let's
exclusive.
go, dude. We did
yeah,
it.
Let's go.
yeah, hell yeah. so my first job was to, since at the time I very rare I loved EDM, but I didn't make any EDM. So I was a hip hop kid,
Yeah.
and he liked me because of my hip hop and sampling skills. So he was like, "Yo, here's the ALSA discography. Flip whatever you can into any sample that you can. That way, we can use it as like we already own the rights to those samples. So
Oh,
now we can just
smart.
make some stuff with it." So I was tasked with basically just like reimagining the catalog, but there was no guidance for that. It was
Right.
just vibe. It was just vibes. It was literally just like flip that shit. So
Make me some cool shit.
I don't even know if it was for him.
Oh, right.
I
just
still
to,
don't
like-
even know why I was doing it. But that was what I was tasked with. And then I would get the random like Instagram video like, "Yo, flip this," like from him, like just random stuff like flip. And I started to, not to toot my own horn, but I started to kind of realize like if I don't make an opportunity for myself here, you know, why do I deserve it? So how do I make this opportunity? And so in secrecy, I was taking those flips, and instead of sending them to him, instead of sending them to him, I was making my own songs with them. Not telling him, because I wasn't like, it wasn't like school where it was like, "So
Yeah.
what'd you do this week?" You know, it
Yeah.
was a lot of alone time. So I secretly started learning how to make EDM at the same time, trying to get signed to ALSA while I was learning how to make EDM, which was a huge undertaking. It was really scary. What came out of it was the Solstice EP, which was my ALSA project. But I distinctly remember it was probably in January, maybe like December. I called Sonny and I was like, "Hey, I know I was supposed to make these samples for you, but I would really like you to come down to the studio and check out what I got." He's like, "All right." So he comes down and I play him 4 songs, which were the 4 songs to the project. He immediately called an A&R from, I forget where it's from, maybe Warner or something like that, for him to come in and listen to it. And I think that night he was like, "We're going to release this."
Wow.
And I remember like that night being like, I made good use of this time. Like it would have been amazing even if I didn't
Yeah, of course.
get a deal or anything, but it was like a full circle moment for sure.
So
Oh,
okay,
that's awesome, man.
there's so this whole situation, it just kind of happens on a whim, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Sonny has enough know-how to be like, okay, there's something with this kid. I'm gonna tell him to stay, but doesn't necessarily put you on a specific task. Lets you kind of just like play and give you the environment, and then also the guidance to develop you into something, knowing probably in the back of his mind that either you're going to take this opportunity and make something out of it, or you're just going to be the kid that's just kind of just doing whatever, right? So he like, that's like on another level of like Skrill, like just, you know, like he kind of like gave you enough rope to hang yourself with it, but instead you took that rope and you made a fucking career out of it. You know what I mean? Like
Some sensei shit. Like it was really like I didn't even realize it was happening at the time. And then post the project, after I left, you know, living in that space and everything, like I remember calling him and talking to him for like 20 minutes about like, "Hey, how do I build a live show?" And he's like, "Send me any clips you have, like I'll help you." And then he was there for every little milestone in my career where like I end up at Timbaland's house and we're making beats and Timbaland posts me and Sonny hits me up like, this makes me so happy to see this.
oh wow,
That's
So
sick.
it's not like he ever held my hand. He just was
Right.
like there to put some float under my wings.
Yeah.
And I'm really appreciative of it. I mean,
that's amazing, bro.
I think that's also a testament to yourself, though,
Yeah, bro.
You know, because
you.
when somebody gets an opportunity like that, it's not usually handed, and it's not
Yeah.
really Sonny's not going to just take your hand and give you the keys to the kingdom.
We're gonna
It
make
just-
you a star,
Yeah,
kid.
it just doesn't work like that.
Yeah,
Like even
yeah.
for anybody, it doesn't work like that. So it's huge kudos to you for
Yeah, bro.
creating that, because a lot of people think that it's just like a magic thing, like, oh, if this artist hears my music, or if I get in the room with this artist, then I'm gonna blow up, you know. But
Yeah.
it takes a lot of hard work and determination to create your own thing, you
Yeah.
know, within that environment.
You
So,
figured that
super
out
sick.
too. You figured out like, okay, I need to come up with a plan, you know?
Yeah.
So I wonder if there was like a subconscious test that he was doing with you. You know what I mean? Like maybe not, but
Maybe. I always interpreted the relationship as just pure. Like it was just
That's
like,
cool.
I like your music, I like yours, you're a good person, I'm a good person, and that's it. And I never expected anything from him.
right.
If anything, he didn't have to house me for free. He didn't have to
Yeah.
sign me to house. Like there's a million things that I look back on and I sometimes have like imposter syndrome of like, did I even deserve to be there? And he's just a great dude. I remember talking to him about the project, and a lot of I feel like Sonny and I's relationship, it's not like we're like best friends, but it's very private. I never asked for a photo with him.
Yeah.
I don't. That's just not my thing.
Yeah.
And in our own conversations, he said to me like, that project to me, that Solstice EP is like an EDM classic for me. And
Wow.
he said that to me in a conversation, and that's always been like, that's rung in my head. And I bring it up now, but it's not something I feel I need to like prove to the world. I don't need to get a
Yeah.
photo with Sonny. I don't need to do all those things. It's like, he's just a human and a friend to me,
Yeah.
and one of the most talented producers in the world.
Yeah,
at the
that's
same
incredible.
time. Yeah.
I want to like more talk about like you, because I love this story about
Yeah.
Skrillex.
Yeah,
It's really interesting, and I'm glad to know that he's such a big part. So but I do want to ask you like a question or two more about it. I'm curious, after all of those, all that time you actually got to spend being actually the kid on the couch and like watching and seeing him produce, what is like one big takeaway that you saw from Skrillex from being on the couch that you feel like most people would be surprised, or maybe something that you took away that's helped you tremendously with your own production? Would you say?
Simplicity.
Really?
Yeah. And like taking motifs, like for example, a synth maybe echoes something that happens in the vocal, using elements that you already have in the track to make new parts,
Callbacks and foreshadowing type of deal.
or even like it's a very easy example is like chopping up a vocal and a drop that happens in the verse, right? That's like at the surface level, but in the smaller bits, I've seen him do stuff where he takes a little tiny sound here and then mangles it over here, and you wouldn't even know it's from the same thing, but you feel it, right?
Interesting.
Because it's its own little ecosystem, its own world.
Feels familiar.
Yeah.
So using so simplicity in the sense of making simple ideas, but also simplicity in keeping what you have in your little ecosystem, not pulling in too much things into this little world that you're creating,
Mm-hmm.
allowing that, hey, I can actually make a lot of things from what I have right here. Ah, that's such an interesting thought, because if you
Yeah.
think about it, like we're constantly, sometimes we throw too many colors on a, if we have access to all of these different colors in your painting, it's gonna end up look like, maybe it'll look like Jackson Pollock, it'll be like beautiful, right? But reality is if you're just using what you have right here and you're kind of keeping yourself in somewhat of that box, like that's such great insight. Thanks for sharing
Yeah.
that. That's
Also,
so cool.
I mean, we have tons and tons of samples
Yeah.
all the time, and so maybe that's a cool thing to kind of round out your own group of samples.
Yeah. Forces you to be creative a little
Yeah.
bit more on a different side of like, okay, well, I'm going to stick to what I have here because I want to keep it simple. So how can I use this specifically to make something new and original that it's not used for as its original input? You know what I mean?
Totally.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Do you have a ton of sample packs?
Yeah, bro. Are you just like stock? You seem like one of those type of guys, especially if you come from the hip hop game.
Yeah. I have like I use the collections folder like super heavy.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I have all of my favorite samples from other people, and then own samples that I make myself, and I draw from them pretty much every session.
Nice.
Yeah, but I don't use templates. I don't really like to be in the
Interesting.
same. I want it to feel different every single time I produce.
Yeah.
But I use maybe 90% of the time 3 kicks
Wow.
Oh, that's so epic.
Always like one of those 3.
for any genre.
Nice. Because you're like, why, or what? What's the reason?
I don't know. I'm not an overthinker when it comes to music. I don't think that makes me better or that's the right answer. But for me, it's just like, if it sounds good, why am I overcomplicating it?
Right.
Yeah. So when do you look for new sounds?
Do
Do you look for new drum sounds, or is it strictly
Yeah.
like melodic stuff? Or
all of it. I'm always looking for new stuff, and I'll use it on a use case basis. But as my foundation, I have those samples that I always, I might switch it out at the end, but most of the time, or I might layer it. So it doesn't sound the same every time, but the bones are usually the same because I know how to mix that kick I know how it sounds in the space, and I'm really only looking for new samples, mainly when I want to explore like a new genre, or I want to like I've been doing a lot of sync work, so like doing cinematic things, I need to find new sample libraries. I need to find new things that have velocity and texture, and so I think it's when I want to explore and expand is when I look for those samples.
That's awesome.
Hey guys, we got a quick announcement for you. Due to the overwhelming response we got to our Serum Pack Drops Only Wook Edition, we are happy to announce our brand new pack, Wooktronic. This time, we went in and made some amazing samples to go along with some of the best Wook and dubstep presets in the game. Guys, we've been doing this for so many years now, and we've developed so many techniques, different methods to create the best presets on the market. If you're a fan of Drops Only Wook or any of our other packs, you're gonna want and need this in your arsenal. I'm gonna take a quick toke while you guys listen to these drops made entirely from Wooktronic. We really wanted to add some special unique sounds to this one that you guys will love for your production toolkit, and you can't get these sounds anywhere else. Some of my favorites are the miscellaneous effects, turnaround loops, bass loops, and drop claps. That's right, I'm talking about those insane drop claps you hear from your favorite tracks. If you're a fan of all the colors of Wook, from Subtronics, Levity, Tape B, Grizz, you guys are gonna want and need Wooktronic. Go click the link in the description and grab Wooktronic now.
I do want to continue on your journey from 2016 till now.
Yeah.
But I do have a question about the Maschine.
Sure.
So we're talking a little bit about samples and stuff like that. What made you choose to use the Maschine as your instrument? Because I know there's an Ableton Push.
MPCs.
There's MPCs. Yeah, there's tons of different stuff. Why did you end up on the Maschine?
When I was maybe like 12 or 13, I discovered Jay Dilla and Pete Rock.
Sick.
And I saw the old Akai's, but when I saved up enough money on my like 14th birthday to buy a sampler, I didn't know how to make the Akai work with my family Apple computer. So I just knew like, okay, I know this machine can USB into my Apple and into GarageBand.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to get that.
Wow.
It ended up being the best decision I could have made, but that's why I chose that. And then I basically just spent my whole high school career teaching myself how to finger drum, because I started as a drummer. And then when I got to college is when I created OddKidOut and when I started posting it online, and then my relationship with NI flourished from there, and then it just became a thing. So.
And do you use a lot of like stock Maschine stuff, or do you just completely? Is it easy to put your own custom samples in it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I remember the first Maschine, it was so difficult to put your own samples in there.
Just orange and black screen.
Yeah, it was just orange and black. Like.
Yeah. I used the stock preset pads when I was in high school, because it was like I was learning how to produce at the same time and everything. But now I don't think I use any. Not that I don't like them. It's just I like my sounds. So
for sure,
you got your go-tos.
Yeah.
And do you use like in Maschine? What's kind of interesting is they started implementing their own like kind of mini DAW inside of it. Like, are you big into using that at all and then putting it into Ableton? Or are you just kind of using it more as like I'm going to jam out a clip and then throw it into Ableton that way, or record it live into Ableton, excuse me.
Yeah. I've said this to NI too, so they know. I avoid that DAW with my life. Like, I really don't like it. I've never made a beat inside the Maschine ever.
Yeah.
I record it as audio. I just resample it into Ableton, but I never produce with it. The Maschine is strictly a live performance thing for me.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow. That's huge.
It is kind of like, I think for some people, when it comes to those type of deals, same thing with the Push, like just in general, they have all these features that everybody can kind of use, but I don't think everybody uses all the features at once. It's either like, I just use it for this, and that's what I need it for, because it can just overcomplicate things, you know? Like, if you already have a way it's doing it, but that's not for you. That's for other people that might, like want to produce that way.
Yeah, that workflow is great. Like, I've seen people make beats in Maschine, like Ninth Wonder, like, is a G. Like, just the way he chops everything. I'm just not like that. I'm a computer kid.
I didn't know he's on a Maschine, dude. That's crazy.
So you'll start a beat or whatever, and you'll record it. Are you recording the loop, the actual full loop of audio into Ableton, or are you actually separating it as stems audio once you're like have the idea?
If I'm using the Maschine to record,
yeah.
I've never released anything that's me finger drumming
Oh,
ever.
okay. Sorry, I misunderstood. So you are just producing in the sort of normal, not normal sense, but you know, what I mean, the more traditional sense. You're using MIDI or just using audio, and you're just dragging it in. You're not necessarily. You don't have your machine next to you.
The machine's
necessarily.
off. The
machine's
machine's
not even there. It's
not
just
even in
there
the
for
studio.
live.
It's in the
Oh
bag.
wow. Okay.
Well, no, it's out. It's out on my desk, but
Yeah.
I basically I use a few pieces of outboard gear, but I'm mainly just my QWERTY keyboard and Ableton, and that's it.
QWERTYing
That's
a little
so
bit.
interesting.
QWERTYs, dude.
That's
You get a little
so
fingery on that
interesting,
thing?
man.
But that's from being with Sonny, like that whole
Yeah.
crew, like they were all just in different random places, headphones, and I was like, oh, okay.
Right.
So I learned how to finger drum on the QWERTY, and then that's
Makes sense.
kind of how I produce now. Yeah.
Sometimes it's just about like, because there's this, you got to set it up, you got to plug in the USB, then you got to get it's like, sometimes you just need to just be able to just go. And I think that makes a lot of sense.
It depends on the type of music I make.
Right.
So if I'm making certain genres, I want it to be more like ceremonious. So I want to plug in those things, and I want to tweak, and I want to do all that stuff. But for majority of the time, it's usually just straight to the laptop.
One thing I wanted that I have listed here on some of my questions for you that I wanted to like bring up that I think is so cool about you as a producer that I respect so much is you are in all encompassing ways not afraid to do any genre, like in the EDM sphere or not even outside of EDM too, hip hop. And you it's you do it in your way, so you're not just like doing like a carbon copy of like, oh, here's a UKG song, like it still sounds like OddKidOut. So what I think is really cool is in an industry where everyone's like, you need to pick a lane, bro. Like you're very much like, no, I just want to do this today, or I want to do that, you know, and I'm just gonna go ahead and make what I feel like I like. And then also you do it really well. Like,
Thank you.
So like, are you like? So I have a cup that's kind of like a super long setup to ask you a bunch of questions about that. But basically, first off, how do you decide what type of genre that you're going to make when you're making a track? Like, is it just like a song that you got inspired by? Like, how does that kind of happen in your mind when you're starting a project when it comes to selecting genre?
I don't consume a lot, so a lot of people like references, like especially in studios. People are like, let's pull a reference track up. Like that's death to me. Like I'll never make I'm not going to make something that sounds that polished and good in that moment, and I don't want to be influenced by something else. So I think for me, I choose a genre based on either how I feel that day, or I look at producing as like going fishing, where it's like sometimes you catch it and sometimes you don't. You can look at the currents and you can see when the fish are active, but like it's kind of the cornerstone of like science and magic, where you don't really know if what you're going to make that day is going to be great or not. So I look at like, I'm not a quite spiritual person, but I sometimes look at producing as like it's channeling something, and like hopefully it happens that day, or maybe it doesn't. And so when I'm making music, the only thing I'm looking for when I sit down is something that inspires and intrigues me. And then once I find that sound, I just follow it. And I'm not thinking about, the only time I ever put like guardrails on what I'm doing has only ever revolved around my live show, because I started playing shows and I'm like, okay, clearly the crowd isn't vibing with this energy in this context. So sometimes in the past when I've produced, I've thought of that, and that's changed the way that the song has come out. But for the most part, I just want to make shit I like.
Yeah.
And I just want to be me, and being me is being OddKidOut. It's just doing shit that I like and not giving a fuck about what I'm supposed to do or what's cool or what's trendy. And sometimes I do want to tap into the trendy stuff, so maybe I'll do that for a second, and then I'll go over here. I mean, there's a lot of music. I pull it in because I have like a whole indie rock project of me, like guitar, drums, singing.
Wow,
that's
dude.
some of my favorite music, but I know that's too far, right? There's a time and place when you run an artist and artist business, basically. So I rein it in, but I do push it a little bit as well.
So so
That's so cool, man.
So you're so it sounds like you're just whatever you're just feeling, it just, if it comes to you, that's what you're gonna do. And also I like what you said about not judging yourself. If like, hey, it's like fishing, like some days you're gonna catch stuff and it's okay if you don't catch a fish this day, because tomorrow you're gonna probably catch something. You don't ever like start to doubt yourself and be like, oh my god, maybe I'm not a good fisher. You know?
100%. And I think the other thing too that started to give me confidence was I was making these different styles, and I was able to get signed to different places. Like I was,
Yeah, bro, you've been on so many labels, dude.
right. So I've been able to bounce around with those different sounds, and then sometimes it even leads to like going on tour with that artist. And I have
Yeah.
like sets where it's like softer butch, and then it's harder, but like,
Right.
so I've gotten the opportunities, and it shows me like, hey, there's a world for this to exist.
So like a big thing for Parker and I probably I'd say more specific. I'm sure he could speak for himself, but like a big thing for me was like taking a similar like approach when it's like I really want to be good at making all different types of genres so that I can be like a badass producer, and hopefully all those genres will influence me to create something new. That's like was my strategy, right? And for us, it was creating remakes, because it's like, well, if I know how a really good dubstep song is made, then I know how to make kind of, I'm not saying I'm going to just do it, but I kind of understand the elements of it, and I study specific genres. So for somebody like you, it's like you put out really good tracks in each type of genres. How are you doing that? Like, how did you get good at that? Is that just like an ear thing, or like, have you ever messed with remakes, or like, what's your process in being able to do that?
I've never done a remake ever in my life. I got a D- in music theory in college. I don't know how to read sheet music.
Drummer.
Straight up.
Because your melodies are sick too. That's the other thing I wanted to bring up. Like, you got melodic.
I guess it's ear. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't look at
It's just
myself
in
as
you.
like being like a great. I know I have talent, but I don't look at myself as like a great producer. I just look at myself as like a vessel of creativity. Like it's just, I think I've learned how to make music from just listening to it.
Yeah.
You know, like I've and then going into that culture and trying to understand the
Okay.
community of it, and then saying to myself like, okay, what instruments are they using, and what in my arsenal can I emulate that with, and just making shit. Like I think my beat folder is maybe around like 6,000 my whole life.
Right.
But there's millions of different things in there, and it's all just from like, you know, in 8th grade, I've started smoking weed in 8th grade, and so I listened to like dub music, not dubstep, like dub,
Yeah.
and like so every now and then I'll make a dub record because I remember like, oh, I fucked with that when I was 14, so let's just like dive into it and let's try it out. And I think that's the only way I've learned is just trial and error, really.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. There was a period of time, so like 2016 to 2020, you have a very specific sound in your music, and then after 2020, it changes vastly.
Yeah.
So like
Definitely.
in 2020, like besides COVID, like was there something that just switched in you in the creative process, or was there like a catalyst that changed how you were doing things?
It was that live show thing I was talking about. Yeah.
Really?
2016 to 2020 was the Outlaw project wasn't there, so there was some EDM, but it mainly was like, if you look at my discography, it's just me figuring it out. Like it's just me, like just my music in 2016 versus now is so vastly different.
Yeah.
But I don't want to get rid of it, and that project, specifically the first one I put out, is very close to me. So I see it as just like, you get to see my evolution in real time. I don't really care if it doesn't serve the project now. But the reason why it vastly changed after 2020 was because that was when I got an agent and I got signed to a specific management company who was managing deadmau5, and I just kind of was like, let's lock in a little bit more on this EDM shit, and let's take finger drumming and put it into that world, because I've always been torn as like butch producer and butch artist, right? So like the negative part of what we were just talking about is there is so much shit to choose from. What do you choose? And so I think after 2020 was when I started to kind of figure out how to pick a funnel.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why it changed a little bit.
It's very cool. I love both eras.
Thank
you know,
you.
there's something special in both.
Thanks.
And I did want to bring up, like, are you in love with quarter note rhythm? Do you love quarter note rhythm?
I
secretly?
do. I do.
I knew it.
do.
I was listening to the newest song, Cauterize.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, come on, bro.
Yeah, I do. I love it. I love rhythm.
Yeah.
I do.
It's sick.
I do.
I think that's a natural evolution from like dubstep.
It's
and
dude.
then rhythm.
It's all the same shit. Like I always say, like if you like heavy metal, you should like dubstep too.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like it's all the same energy, just it's shown in a different way, but it's kind
Yeah.
of the same shit.
What got you into rhythm specifically? Are there any artists that you were just like, holy shit, like what is this?
No, to be honest with you, no. It kind of was just I never attached to an artist. I
Yeah.
just discovered it as like, oh, that's that weird sounding dubstep. Like that's the splinky wink 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 go wink go wink go. And
Dude,
like,
that's so awesome.
and I was like, this is fucking cool. Like I love it.
There's like an innocence of that, you know, when you don't know or attach to an artist, and it's more of just genre, you know? Because we always get into crazy conversations about genre, like what's this, what's that, you know? And people go crazy online about genres, and it's like it's got to be easier for you to not associate a genre with artists.
I try not to. I just try not to take anything that serious. Like, it's just music at the end of the day, you know? And there is something about knowing every artist in a genre to give you that knowledge and power, right? That's why I don't walk around and say I'm a rhythm extraordinaire. I'm not.
Yeah.
I just like the music, and that's my relationship with it. I'm not going to pretend to be anything else other than when I hear a rhythm track or I put one. I think there was one called Two Phones. I got two phones, one for the. I forget who the artists are, but like I played that recently, and I'm like, this is fucking awesome. Like this is so fun. I love it. You know what I mean?
That's so sick, man. Hey guys, quick break from the pod. If your computer has crashed mid-session, frozen while loading a synth, or straight up ruined your project file, you already know the pain. Your computer should not be the hardest part of making music. That's why you'll probably love our sponsor, Orbital Computers. They build custom workstation PCs specifically for music producers. No random bloat, no guessing specs, just exactly what you need. Whether you're stacking a few instances of Serum or running a full-on recording session, every Orbital rig is built, tested, and supported in the US of A by people who actually understand music production. If you want a computer that keeps up with your workflow instead of fighting you, hit orbitalcomputers.com and use code EXCELLENT at checkout for 5% off. Now let's get you back to the video.
I have a question because, like, one thing I've noticed just along with the whole genre thing, you've released on Alsla, Mousetrap, Monster Cat, Bass Rush. Have you done Insomniac too? Insomniac, and there's a couple other ones that you've basically released on every single like major EDM label there is, and all of those tend to kind of stay in somewhat genres from like, you know, maybe Bass Rush is more like hybrid trap, UKG, flame me in the comments, fuck you, whatever. You know, and then Monster Cat's kind of like was like electro, but now it's like kind of more dubstep, and then, you know, of course you got Alsa, which is kind of even more like an indie thing at times. So like, and Mousetrap is Dead Mouse, you know what I mean? So like that's like very like what is the elitist EDM?
Yeah.
Like you got to be really good for him to like that's how I kind of think of it. But out of all of these labels that you've put out stuff on, without like putting anybody down, would you say that maybe one of the labels that you can maybe share that you felt like was like a really, really good experience as far as putting stuff out versus the others? And then also too, like, was there any two-part question? Was there any like differences, like major differences from putting out on any of these major labels that I'm sure a lot of people at home want to know what it's like to put out? And you've put out on so many of these labels. So yeah, is there any like any cool like stories from like maybe one that really stuck out from you that felt special or different? And then also like, are they very similar or are they like very different?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think, to be honest, of all the labels I've released on, I've never had a bad experience.
That's awesome.
Which is awesome. I think everyone approaches their career differently. I was always of the thought of I don't want to sign a 2-year deal and be locked in with just one entity. I want my creative freedom, so I'm just going to do project deals. And so I never signed anything for a long-term deal with any of these labels. It was always just 4-song deliverables, EPs or singles. Each label I feel like gave me its own unique perks. So for example, releasing with Hard Records or Bass Rush,
Hard was another.
That's the Insomniac circuit.
Yeah.
Right. Bitbird with San Holo got me on a 2-month bus tour with him. Monster Cat got me music in Rocket League.
So sick.
Very cool.
8 tracks, Fool's Gold. got me a relationship with him and the Goldie Awards and winning that competition. Like each label, and I'm missing some, and I'm sorry, but each label has its own flavor and its own perks. And so I think if you're an artist that's looking for a label, think about what services that label provides, because each of them outside of just releasing the music, right? Because I didn't release on Monster Cat to get on Rocket League. That just happened.
Right.
I played Tomorrowland because of Monster Cat.
Right.
They had a stage takeover, and since I released on there a lot, I got to play Tomorrowland. So each label has its own perks. Each has its own personality with A&Rs. So they're all just unique experiences. Mm-hmm. Luckily, I've never had a bad one. I will say, I think Bitbird stands out just because of that time I got to spend with San, and going on like a bus tour, I feel like is a big life event to do.
Yeah.
And Monster Cat, they have a house here in the hills, which I used to actually live down the street from. So I spent a lot of time going over there and learning how to use CDJs and like just hanging out at the house. And they cultivated like a really cool community. So those two stand out for sure.
That's awesome, bro.
That's such a good way to put it too, because I think people are obsessed with plays. Oh, if I get signed to this, I'm going to get this many plays. But putting it into perspective, it's like all of these other opportunities that come from releasing on a label. People don't think about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
And you can't guarantee that even if you get on a big label that your song is going to do well. Because like I've had songs that came out and I thought they were going to do really well, and they did okay. But then there was other ones where I was like, yeah, this will be all right, and it does way better. And you just have to go where your music is going to be taken care of the best.
Yeah.
And what makes you feel like you're yourself. Because I feel like the worst thing you can do is sign like a big advance and then get into a deal where they're like, well, now you have to make this. And then it's like, well, fuck.
Yeah.
That sounds bad to me. So.
Well, it sounds like too, like you're also like, because you were kind of like okay with you just being like, yeah, I'm just going to make what I want to make. And if you like it, cool. If not, it kind of enabled you to be able to put out on all these different types of labels and benefit from that, you know, like, seems like that was like one perk of doing it that way too.
Yes. But I think there also is like a finesse to that, not to toot my own horn, but I think if you're an artist and you do want to do that, it's way harder than just picking a lane. And if you do it, you have to know how to still cater to the listener and also the times and also the A&R. Like even if you do you still have to make it marketable and you still have to make people care.
Yeah.
And it still needs to serve a purpose. So it's never just 100% me. There's always a part of like, even though I'm doing all this weird different shit, it still has to work.
Right. Still has to exist in the
ecosystem.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, dude.
So did a lot of these signings come from relationships that you've built over the years? Because I saw on Spotify you have a ton of like official remixes as well.
Yeah, bro, you have
like,
a ton.
Yeah, was that coming from just people that you know? Were you like online submitting your songs, like coming up to all these labels? Like how did that all come about?
It's a mix of my connections, my team connections, and outreach naturally.
Cool.
So I think actually I think it was 2025, I laughed because I released 3 official remixes, one for Deadmau5, one for NLE Choppa, and another one for Donna Summers.
Sick.
Which is like the weirdest
That's
lineup
so many,
ever. Like 3 completely different fucking songs, right? But yeah, it's a mixture of like me hustling online, my team pulling some strings, and natural like, hey, we like you and we are reaching out because we want you to remix this.
That's so dope, bro. NLE Choppa, that's sick.
Yeah,
dude. I like what he's doing lately.
Me out too. That's the name
crazy,
of the song,
bro. I wanted to also like kind of talk about like a little bit about your finger drumming, like kind of bring it back to that if that's okay, because I was thinking about it and it seems like there's been in my mind, I make my own world up, obviously. There's been a rise of the finger drummers kind of coming through, like, right? So you got you, right? You got Frederick. You got Viper Active.
Yeah.
And then also you have some OGs like
well,
Madion.
is Viper considered a finger drummer?
He was. That's how he started. I mean, he doesn't like, obviously, like you kind of like a more like I feel like you're kind of in the Fred lane. I feel like where like Fred can kind of do a lot of different, like there's a lot of similarities, but a lot of differences too. You know, which is really cool. It's like you guys kind of have that sort of thing. And I know that like Julian doesn't necessarily.
Well, because there's the launch pad.
Yeah, the
but
launch
then
pad
there's
kits.
finger drumming. Those are
But
two
those
different
are
things,
but
right?
to me, they're
I feel
kind of
like.
the same, are they not?
No,
Okay,
those
so
are,
I'm fucking up.
That's very different.
It's different, but it's the same.
So-
like to the not to be rude, but to the average person,
Yeah.
it's the same shit. You're just touching colorful buttons.
Yeah. Okay.
I get it.
So, but my big question with this is, I as I'm seeing just again, this is my own world, but I'm seeing a rise of fingerers, right?
Yeah.
And in my mind, I can see okay. Let me just everybody close your eyes and just picture it for me, right? Okay.
We're going in. We're going
We
in.
have a mega group, right? And it's Fred again of producers.
Okay.
It's OddKidOut. We got Viper Active. We got Maddie on, and I need another fucking finger. Who's another finger? Anybody in that group?
Finger banger.
Okay, just those four.
Yeah.
And we call them the Finger Blasters.
Okay.
Right? And they just make the sickest fucking beats ever, obviously.
Yeah.
And it's a mega collab group, and they go on tour and they're all just fucking fingering each other's fucking pads and shit, bro. In a world, do you see that happening? Like, how come you and Fred, I mean, with Skrill, right? Like, I gotta imagine at least that. Okay, maybe we just go back to the two finger blasters. You and Fred. Is there something? Is there a possibility of those two fingerers coming together?
It would be sick.
Gotta happen, bro.
I met him. So I went to one of Sonny's studios in 2024. I went there by myself just to work on mixes, and Fred was there with Anderson .Paak. I forget that song they released.
That song is great. Yeah.
So they were making that while I was there, and I ran into Fred. And again, me being like the way I was with Sonny, like I hate like, hey, my name is this.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Like, so I did naturally talk to him, and I did bring up finger drumming, and we just never got to it. And I don't really have like a strong connection to. I would never just randomly like DM Sonny and be like, hey, can you connect me with Fred? Like it's just not.
Yeah.
You know. So if the opportunity arose, hell yeah. But
I'm putting it out there in the universe, bro.
It
I
would
can
be
see
sick.
it, right?
It's just a drum off, even you know, of just finger drummer versus finger drummer would be crazy.
It would be really cool. There's other people in the space that aren't in EDM that I've been working on some future stuff with.
Cool.
Just because there's more of it in hip hop than or beats than there is in EDM.
Yeah.
So yeah, there are people that I collaborate with, like Beats by J Black, Dat-Sun.
Oh, he's sick.
Yeah, two dudes that are super dope. There's more that I'm forgetting, but top of my Danny Asadi. So all those dudes.
Sean Wasabi.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Sean Wasabi, Arius. There's another group.
Yeah.
They're kind of like in
Yeah.
that space too.
I never really like met Sean or really got to talk to him or anything.
I met him once at Guitar Center. I sold him a bunch of stuff, but such a nice dude.
He seems it.
And very shy too, very shy. But once you get to know him a little bit, like he's just a sweetheart.
He's a legend.
Yeah, super legend.
Do you think having the coming from a drumming background, but also like coming from starting on, I know you said you kind of use it more in the live context, but do you think that has given you any like advantage production wise of like having that skill, just not necessarily? I know you're not playing it, but just having, maybe being able to kind of jam that out a little bit more. Does that give you any advantage, or do you feel like it's not really any different to you?
I don't think it gives me any advantage as a producer, but I think it gives me a big advantage as a performer. And I used to be afraid of it. Like I remember before I got my first agent and before I started playing any shows at all, I was like, how the fuck am I going to get on stage with a pad?
Yeah.
This is before this was 2022. So I mean, I'm sure Fred was doing his thing, but it wasn't that big, as big as it is now. So I didn't really have anything to gauge it off of, and I thought it was going to shoot me in the foot, And then I showed up to my first show was EDC. I played a side stage, and I had the guys strike the sound tech strike the CDJs, put my machine, my Ableton push, my sound card and everything, and it was a fucking nightmare. And I was just like, this is not going to work. Like I'm just going to have to learn how to use CDJs, and that's going to be it. And then I started to realize, oh wait, when I go to play shows and I play live, everyone wants me to finger drum. That's when everyone gets excited. So it actually gave me a leg up as a performer. But as a producer, I'm not sure there's I have musical capabilities from doing it, but I'm not sure it really serves as big of a purpose as it does for the show.
Yeah, so you wouldn't like necessarily recommend that like newer producers like get into it to like help their production. Or
Learn the piano first.
There you go.
Yeah.
Cool.
There's you kind of just touched on this, and I kind of want you to elaborate a little bit, but there is drama and pushback from venues if it's anything other than CDJs for EDM artists. Like, do you still see that now? Like, is it hard to be like, hey guys, I got the pads going, like the sound guy, hook me up? You know, is it still difficult? Do you get a lot of pushback at venues?
You know, it goes. I'm not by any means a headliner, so if I was a headliner, this wouldn't be a conversation.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot goes into a very prepared rider and stage plot, even if they don't read it. A lot goes into providing that, and a lot goes into showing up really early and making it as easy for the sound techs as possible, and also just being a good person.
Yeah.
And so for me, when I play shows, I show up an hour before sound check, and I go and I introduce myself, and I'm like, hey, did you happen to see the rider? And if they do, then great, and we chat about it. And I'm like, if you could just strike one CDJ, I'll put my computer over here. I just need my machine here. I used to have to route everything through a sound card. Now I just go straight out of my computer into the mixer. It's 3 minutes and it's done.
Nice.
And you can see they're like, oh, okay. And I don't blame them. Like, you know, it's that's a hard job. So I just try to show up and I'm like, look, this is what I'm getting booked for, so I'm going to use it. But I'm also going to try and make it as easy as possible for you.
That's smart.
I'm going to help you set it up. I'm going to tear it down. I'm going to build my set 5 minutes short so that I don't bleed into the next person.
Nice.
Those little tiny things that go a really long way.
Yeah.
And I've gotten repeat bookings, so I must be.
That's
that's
pro
such
level shit, bro.
That is pro level for sure. I've seen shows where the DJ wants to bring a guitar out, or they have an extra vocalist that they're going to bring out, and it's not ready, and they just get denied. No guitar. Get the guitar out of here.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a simple thing. It's just a jack. You know,
sound guys are the worst too, bro.
No, I know, but
the worst
it's just
attitudes.
like
you got to butter them up for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
They also deal with a lot of shit.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. But no, I just wanted to bring that up because I can imagine it's very difficult. Just you know, when you got a ton of shows, but I love what you said, man. Just be a good person, be cool, just run them through it real quick. You know.
Yeah. You assume. I try to assume as much of the negative experience as possible.
Yeah.
So most of my friends pull up with a USB. I pull up with a backpack full of gear that's really heavy. Not that I'm saying woe is me, but it's like you take on those things. You show up early. It's not going to be perfect every time, and that's okay. You make it work. Like there's just little things that you sacrifice to be different, and I don't ever expect anyone to accommodate me for being different.
Yeah.
So I think that's always served me well, is to just delete that expectation and just try and fit into where I can, you know.
That's awesome.
If you're an EDM producer and you need some serious sounds, make sure you guys go to excellentsound.com. They have everything you need, from serum presets, project files, remakes, and even free downloads for you guys. And check out all these different testimonials that all these heavy-hitting EDM producers are saying about excellentsound.com.
And on top of that, use code TheExcellentShow at checkout to save 10% off your next purchase.
Speaking about just like in general about just like being polite and the whole business side of being an actual like producer and trying to do this professionally. One thing that I noticed is you were talking about that you took an internship at Red Light, which is incredibly fucking smart if you think about it from just the idea of the producers out there. If you are doing some type of schooling and you can get into a management company that's as big as Red Light and be an intern there, bam, your connects are already set up. As long as your product is good, you have the right people to at least point you in the direction, especially a place like Red Light. So I was just thinking about that. And earlier, you and I were talking about just like the business side and how like something that we were like trying to share, but within certain, you know, parameters is like, there's this thing with the EDM, and I'm sure it's different in other genres too, or whatever, but it's like this, it's very tight knit. Everybody feels like they're everybody's friends, And there is the real friends, and then there's like the business friends. And you and I were kind of talking about it, and we're like, oh wait, we should definitely like save this for the podcast. And I kind of wanted to see, just like sort of have you maybe elaborate more on what you were talking about a little bit earlier. Like I said, we cut ourselves off. So like, what type of advice or maybe experience can you share to the producers out there when they're trying to navigate the business side of making friends in EDM and also just actually having like an actual core group of people that you are actually really friends with? I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it totally makes sense. I mean, so I always try to lead with genuine relationships. So even if it is a business play, like, the label's like, you guys should put a song out together.
Right.
And then you meet that artist. I do my best to be like, yo, let's go get a lunch or something before we even make music, or just come hang at my spot and let's chill and just try and build some sort of like actual connection. Because if you just go off of business relationships, I don't think you'll really develop like a strong core friendship. And, I personally feel sometimes on like the outskirts of like the EDM community sometimes. And I think a few of my friends feel that way too that are in it. Like, I think everyone has their own relationship with the scene and where they fit in. And, I'm not the type of person, and it doesn't make me better or worse, I'm just not the type of person that wants to change me to fit in, right? And that's like back to the ethos of like the OddKidOut project.
Right.
But I think if you're starting your project, having friends in the scene is so invaluable. Like in any industry, who really is a huge part of your success.
Right.
So the more friends that you can build, whether it's online at first, a good example is Eliminate. So I watched his Audio Combat series for like a year or two.
Yeah.
And was just a huge fan of him. And I learned that we had a mutual friend, and we ended up all three hanging out. And now I play video games with Nate all the time. We put a song out together. Like, he's a good friend now. And that relationship to me came from like, okay, I see this person that I respect. I like their music. I think they're funny. I think they're cool. I'm just going to find a natural way to meet this person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
you didn't change yourself.
Right.
No, not at all. And I think most people at least most people in the EDM scene that I come across are pretty genuine people. So if you're in there and you're acting like not yourself, no one's going to want to hang out with you.
Yeah.
For sure.
And I think doing small things like gaming or hanging out or laughing, like those go way further than, oh, you have 200,000 more monthly listeners than me, I got to be friends with you.
Yeah.
That doesn't, it might work in the short term, but correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe it works for some people, but I can't imagine that is a sustainable way to navigate a community that's based in authenticity, right? Like electronic music is supposed to be an authentic expression. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm kind of rambling at this point.
No,
but,
you're making total sense.
What I mean?
I think there's a lot of people too that like we've talked about this, that are like, it's not that like people are like so disingenuous, but you can really sniff out a lot of people that are like, oh, like you're trying to be the friend with everybody type of deal. Like, oh, you're the guy I see at everything, but there's something about you that does not feel genuine. You're trying to make sure that you're and they may not say it, they might not do, there might be a totally cool person, but you can just like tell sometimes. And like people are always talking about like networking with people, and I think kind of like what you're saying is like there's like networking, but then there's also like I'm networking like, oh hey, it's like I want to know who you are, the person, but then there's also like becoming friends with somebody is like actually becoming friends with somebody. Like if they didn't do music, right? Obviously that's a big interest, but like you looked at Nate and you're like, oh, like, yes, we have the same interest, but you were probably more into the fact of his personality. You're like, oh, I like this guy's funny. And like, I would love to be friends with somebody like him,
Correct.
And then it just so happens that he also happens to be a producer. But your main goal of getting to know somebody like him was getting to know somebody not like him and not be per se, so that he can help you in your career or you guys can do stuff.
Totally.
Maybe I think in the back of your mind, but not priority number one.
Yeah. And I think most people can sniff out that weird energy, like you said.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
But there's also this really toxic, there's this weird toxic pressure to be a part of the scene that's put on us as artists by people that aren't artists. So people that are trying to build your project around you might say, well, you need to be friends with this person to get this opportunity. And it's such a unnatural way to build a friendship. And it's very hard to just show up at a show, even if you have list, and then talk to the headliner and then build enough of a relationship for that person to then do a song with you. Like, this is something that naturally needs to play out.
Yeah.
It can't just be like you show up at every show and all of a sudden you're friends with deadmau5. Like, that's just not how it works, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, for me, my relationship with deadmau5 took a really long time. And the first time I met him was in an airport, and I heard from behind me, he was like, at 7 a.m. in the morning, this random voice behind me is like, "Oh, do you think you're a fucking DJ or something?" That pink hair. And I turn around, it's fucking deadmau5.
That's so sick.
And he knew me just because of Mousetrap and like just natural evolution of time. Took a year, right? It's not just like pull up at a show and now you're in the scene and now you're friends with everyone and now you're popping. Like, that's such a toxic way of approaching it, and it's unrealistic most of the time too.
Dude, that's such a great point.
No, it's good, and it's also like you're finding your tribe. You know what I'm saying? You can't find your tribe with somebody that's not part of your tribe. You can't fake that. It's, you know, you might be able to be an acquaintance, you know, maybe they would help you a little bit, but not a true friendship.
Yes.
You know,
100%.
Dude, he brought up the pink hair.
I know. I was gonna say, should I bring up
do it.
the how we
Yes,
found out
you
about
got
it?
it.
Okay.
Yeah, you got to tell.
All right, so I got this interesting story, right?
Okay.
So how this is how you I think already kind of had a better idea than I did about OddKidOut.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So
Yeah.
this is like a couple years ago. I did not know who you were. Right. I had heard your name, but I had never listened to your music. So I have a Spotify account. And my Spotify account at the time was not shared with Parker, or I thought it was shared with Parker. But it was just kind of my
family
private
plan or whatever.
And
Sure,
I am
sure.
not a big music listener. Like, I don't listen to a music all the time because I'm constantly doing music, right? So I'm like, I try to like limit it, actually, to be honest with you. But when I am listening to music, I'm usually doing it for reference space. I know you say you're not a big referencer, but like I'm a big referencer. So like, or we're doing remakes, whatever. So at the time, it was we were working on a pack called Quest for Bass, and it was like a Quest for Fire type of UKG pack, right? So, and I had just gotten Spotify, and because I had always stayed away from it because I hated that. So I only listened to Quest for Fire. That's it. And I was just studying the songs, and I was just constantly just listening to them and just like try to really understand what he was doing, this genre, right? So all of a sudden, I go on Spotify, and we have multiple rooms here, which we'll show you. I go on Spotify, and it's January, and all of a sudden I get this like message. I don't know if it was on Spotify or it was my email, and all of a sudden it's this email, and it says, "Email from OddKidOut, your number one listened, number one."
No, it was the Spotify Wrapped.
Spotify Wrapped.
It was Spotify Wrapped.
And then I open it, and it's this message from you, and you're like, "Hey, what's up? You know, I just want to say thank you so much for making me your number one listened artist of 2022 or whatever that year it came out, or 2021. You know, I'm so glad to have like great like fans like you." And I'm like, "Who the fuck is this kid?" I'm like, literally, like, I get mad. I call Parker. I'm like, "Parker, I'm like, are you I'm like, bro, I listened to like literally just this, and I just got this. Like, I'm like, are you obsessed with this kid?" He's like, "No, bro." He's like, "I know OddKidOut." He's like, "But that's not me." He's like, "I wasn't necessarily on your spot." Like, I'm like, "Oh, maybe I like we were sharing it, and maybe he was just." Because Parker will go in on artists.
I've listened to you for a long time, but I was definitely not the number one listener.
So I'm like,
he shows me,
I'm like, who's this kid trying to come up in my like? I'm like, I don't know, you know. I'm like, I know you, but I don't know you. I've never listened to your music. So I'm like thinking about it, and then I clicked on your profile, and I was like, oh, this guy's sick. I started listening to your music. I'm like, oh, this guy's like super dope. Like I think he's really good. But I was like, how the fuck did this happen? One, I think it's really funny because it was incredibly smart that you did that, right? Because I just think for people like that are actual, like that were listening to you as number one, like fans, like that's such an awesome thing. And I remember being like, well, how come Skrillex didn't send me a message? Like being all like pissed off. Like, how come? I'm like,
Who's
this
this
guy's
kid?
this kid. But it also like caused me to listen to your music. And then what we realized is that somebody here at the studio, I must have been logged in to one of the studio's account, and they were just constantly listening to you over and over again. We don't know who that person was.
Wow.
Yeah,
right?
I have no idea.
Wow, that's sick.
But it's just kind of a funny sort of full circle moment when, because it in a way, like I wasn't actually pissed, but I was like, who the fuck
No,
is
I
this?
would be like, do you ever get the Spotify like top 50 and it's like clearly a botted song by
Yeah.
a major label and you're like,
Yes.
fuck you.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
yeah, I get it.
But it also like opened me up to you and your music, and I was just become a fan since then. So I just thought it was just like a kind of a funny story.
Yeah.
That's an amazing story.
And obviously, there's somebody out there who was either working at the studio, like one of our engineers, or a guest that had like maybe it was like Trevor. Maybe it was like Said the Sky or something. I don't know, because I
Yeah.
could see him like really getting into your music, because he was renting the studio a lot too at the time.
Yeah,
And
and-
somebody must have been just binging you so hard.
That's
'cause it
crazy.
just took
Yeah.
all my Skrillex
Wow.
plays out the window, bro.
That's an amazing story.
Yeah. Just
Shout
wanna
out to
tell you.
whoever that was. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, no, it's awesome.
But yeah, I don't know. We love you, bro. Thank you so much for coming on,
Hey,
bro.
likewise,
Yeah,
man.
dude.
I've
So
been
much fun.
I've been a fan of the show for a while too, so it's a cool moment to be here. And
That's
Thank you,
awesome,
bro.
man.
Yeah.
We're excited too to dive
Oh,
into the
can't wait,
production
bro.
segment, man.
yeah,
Yeah. So
It's gonna be insane.
should I wrap it up?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, everybody. Actually, do you want to tell the people real quick about anything you got going on that you want to let them know? Like, you got any songs coming out, any albums, any tours, any dates, anything you want to tell the people
Videos.
before we close it out?
there's a lot for this year that I can't
Okay,
say yet, but just keep your eye on my Instagram.
nice.
Exciting.
2026, the
Yeah,
year of OddKidOut.
2026.
Hell yeah.
Dope. Thank you guys for watching. Comment, like, subscribe. Thanks again, Butch, for coming on OddKidOut. If you guys haven't checked him out, you should, and definitely make sure he's your #1 Spotify Wrapped.
Oh,
His messages
love
are
it,
very
dude.
awesome.
Yes.
So thank you so much for being here, bro. We're going to
Thank you.
do a production segment, which we're super excited about. We're going to get into the Maschine. So look for that video coming very soon. Members, you guys have access to it right now. We'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. Thanks.
Boom.